that this is probably the biggest issue that's facing the Upper Harbour Local Board area this term of council. The Northern Corridor upgrade is a really necessary piece of infrastructure. The kind of unfortunate and unintended consequences to community access to open space are quite unfortunate. This particular piece of land, when I was a North Shore City Councillor, we always talked about it as our future sports fields. I actually didn't know it was called Constellation Reserve until relatively recently. I just always knew that was the future sports fields for the North Shore. So the local board has been working with NZTA for the last couple of years on this, and there have been extensive discussions about how to mitigate the impacts on not only the Upper Harbour community but the wider former North Shore community who had anticipated that their growing sporting needs would be addressed by this particular piece of land. And that's why the local board made a really strong plea for land as a solution, and for it to be preferably within the immediate catchment, because the sports fields that we have in Upper Harbour, and we are blessed by great sporting facilities, actually service the sub-region of North Shore. So while Whenuapai is on the list, it is segregated by the rest of our board area by the Greenhithe Bridge, which it is actually quite a barrier. It services Western sports clubs rather than the former North Shore areas, so that's why that one was on the list as last. The report talks about the displacement of hockey. The domino effect of relocating hockey affects 7 other community leaseholders. Hockey has been working with NZTA for 2 years. We have, in the last 6 months now, we have a North Harbour BMX, 3 pony clubs, a riding for the disabled, a tennis northern region groups who are also facing lease changes, subject to satisfactory approval. So we recognise this land is important. The local board support the project that has driven the need to sell this. The reason we're advocating for this approach is that the negotiated approach gives us the best opportunity to look after the needs of those displaced community organisations. If we relied on the Public Works Act, we would have to rely on a commissioner understanding the detail of the impacts at that community level, and we as a local board feel that the negotiated approach is the best one. So in the coming years, in the coming months, rather, you may well see media stories about the affected groups. There is starting to be unrest in the community, but as a local board, we have been inside the tent with NZTA and a dedicated team of council staff trying to optimise the outcome for our residents. So that was really all I had to say on that one. Did you want me to refer to the other item as well? Or Item 16 is formalising the statutory land exchange of the North Shore Works Depot that we were talking about in the previous item. It actually, when Grant was here earlier, he's like a magpie. He had all his minutes from North Shore City Council days, and in fact in the same agenda, that the one with the itemised listing, including the sailing centre money, was this item for the land exchange that, for whatever reasons, hasn't been properly gazetted in our books. So I can certainly speak to saying that it was an oversight. There was nothing untoward happening with that. It is just an administrative issue, and the local board's supportive of it. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. There's a massive process going on behind the scenes subsequent to this activity, and there will be for the whole term.
Totally supportive, yes?
Yes.
Any questions of Lisa on items 15 or 16?
Can I just ask who does the negotiations, please? With NZTA? Mr Mayor, do you know?
No, wait a minute, we'll let staff.
Staff can answer it.
Through the Chair, recommendation C talks about delegating authority through the Chief Executive to the General Manager.
Hadn't got that far on the...
Councillor Darby.
Chair, question of Lisa. Can I ask the staff a question? That's
Yep. Just
thank you.
Together.
So, just that the recommendations in front of us from the staff are to approve the transfer. That is to proceed and dispose of land. I'm, along with Lisa and others, are dealing with our submission on the Northern Corridor package. One of the things that we've asked for is an options analysis of the flyovers that actually force us into this situation. Members, on your report you can see a graphic of 2 flyovers, the 100km/h flyovers from the northern motorway through to the northwestern motorway, State Highway, was it 16? 18. 18. So one of the questions our staff are asking NZTA at the moment, I'm coming towards my question here, Mr Chair, is where is the options analysis of that connection, including a thrust tunnel or a cut and cover tunnel as opposed to flyovers? Now, I'm surmising here, but if we arrive through the Board of Inquiry process that a different solution, that is an underground solution or a cut and cover solution, is the outcome, then
You don't need to sell it.
you have this knock-on effect at the moment, which is creating this need will not be required. My question to the staff is, how are we protected in this recommendation of not outright disposing of land that the Board of Inquiry, if the Board of Inquiry decides differently to what is in the proposal that you are relying upon at the moment, if you follow?
I actually asked the question of NZTA last week, obviously without any remote
Officer
technical
White, please
details.
answer.
But I just said, look, what if you don't need all the land and there's still a solution for community outcomes in some of the green space, which is in the water care buffer zone from what is affectionately known as the poo ponds on the North Shore. And there are a number of issues with water care's proposed expansion, the Northern Interceptor that's being in expansion, the Mairangi Bay tunnel and outfall, and they had to provide for future-proofing for the south-facing ramps coming from the west, and that's why the full piece of land, they don't think there will be any remnant land, but there could be a resolution that any remnant land that was not deemed necessary could be reverted to community use. We could ask for that. All right.
Paul, would you like to also give a response?
Through the Chair, I think the local board has highlighted that Watercare has also indicated that they have some interest in this potential land. But in answer to Councillor Darby's question, I don't believe the resolution precludes that, because what we're talking about is actually negotiating an agreement directly with NZTA, hopefully to preclude going through a Board of Inquiry process. So the resolution A allows you to make it conditional on certain conditions being met, that being appropriate compensation, which will be part of any compensation agreement. So I think we have the latitude to deal with that situation, and if it goes into a level of detail where there is detailed design, it's possible that they do these flyovers or they do some tunnelling. We would obviously need to still dispose of some aspects of that land to NZTA, get some compensation for that, and then reinvest that in land in the community.
So thank you for that, Paul. So the staff are relying on the words up to 9 hectares. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. If I could just speak to this, Mr Chair, I think there's a long way to go on this issue. This seems to be well advanced in some people's eyes.
So just to be technical here, sorry, Lisa, you just need to step back.
Go.
From the table, just so.
But, Mr Chair, in my view, the Northern Corridor package has got a long way to go. Just like the East-West is a major project that requires our rigorous examination, so too does the Northern Corridor package. And there are a number of things about the connection which are requiring this council to address its reserve land holdings, possibly unnecessarily so, or the degree of requirement might change. There are some other things in the Albany Station area as well, but I'll just focus on this particular part now. It has significant knock-on effects. North Harbour Hockey gets knocked through to Rosedale. Rosedale gets knocked through to Greenhithe Pony Club and the riding for the disabled. And it is not a $2 million transaction. It will be nothing near a $2 million transaction. It will be well over the top. And my message, why I'm emphasising that, is I just want the staff to take this on board and negotiate a deal where we are not disadvantaged financially and we are not disadvantaged socially because we are, and recreationally, because this is going to take a long time to resolve and a lot of money. I know $2 million, I think, was identified by NZTA at the outset, wasn't it? It was some minuscule sum. Anyway, I know the cost of just one hockey turf at North Harbour. There's no change out of just one hockey turf of $1 million. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And so, look, I hope the staff are, and I know they will be, really rigorous on this one. We cannot be disadvantaged.
So obviously the staff believe that B is tight enough for that, so I don't think there's anything to add. Councillor Watson.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the recommendations. If I already have been done. Okay.
I know you can move it, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is a project that has a huge benefit to the Albany and wider area, and NZTA have certainly been doing a very good job in terms of consultation for a number of years now, and have been more than willing to take on contrary views and queries from people within the community, notwithstanding the reasonable concerns that Councillor Darby has raised in his speech. In terms of the exchange of land or the compensation for land, I just would like to put on record, and hopefully it's not a concern that will come to any form of fruition, and that goes to the position of North Harbour Hockey Association. Their importance to the North Shore can't be overstated in terms of what comes out of this negotiation for them. They're the second largest association in New Zealand. 4,300 winter players, 2,000 summer players, taken the area from Devonport to Warkworth and out to Massey and Helensville. It's a massive catchment. 11 clubs, 19 secondary schools, 54 junior schools. That goes 7 days a week, dawn to dusk almost. So they are a massive player in our sport in North Harbour, and their location is absolutely crucial to the success of their operation, because essentially, and people from other areas will know, that the clubs as such all focus, their home ground is all Rosedale Reserve. It's not like the old days where, Northcote will be down at Stafford Park and someone else, Glenfield will be somewhere else. They all go to the one spot, and that spot is central, it's convenient, it's well established for clubs and schools. So I'd just like to put on record, Mr Chair, and as I said, I'm pretty confident it won't come to that, but a notion of it relocating, Whenua Pai or Greenhithe or somewhere like that just doesn't meet the needs of this massive number of people that use their facility at Rosedale. So fingers crossed that's not a concern that needs to be revisited. But yes, I'd just like to once again sort of commend the officers for their involvement to date. It has been a very good process, and hopefully we'll have some action on the ground, unlike other parts of our ward. Thank you.
Councillor Simpson. You are moving it, by the way, now.
Thank you. I've just got a question maybe to Councillor Darby, because Lisa stepped back. But I got your point, Councillor, about up to, right? But if you were just reading this cold, as I am, because I don't know the history of this particular site, I wondered whether we should start with a resolution prior to that said something like, notes that originally the North Shore City Council had this land delegated as a reserve for sports and recreation. Because then if you kind of set that context, and then you went, approves the transfer of up to 9 hectares, because then you're actually giving some setting the scene that originally sport and recreation was your absolute focus. It's up, you know it better than me, but I was just, if you didn't know and you were just reading resolutions, and we're about to look at how we, what the quality of the information in front of us, I just wondered whether that would assist the thinking.
I think if the councillor wishes, it wouldn't hurt to actually have that note of the history. It is a significant parcel of reserve land being proposed for disposal. It's 90,000 metres of land. It's quite significant. And it wouldn't hurt to have that go as the new way and then drop the others down if the member wants to just give it to the...
So if Councillor Watson and Councillor Filipaina agree, I'd suggest that. I don't need to do an amendment.
Just,
Just add it in.
Yes, if it expedites matters.
Paul Kettering. Happy?
Certainly amenable to